Thanks for joining us for our, gosh, what is it, the fourth Cook the Book?
Yeah.
This is our fourth one. I'm Tina, this is Valerie. We're here every month. Thanks for joining us. With this Cook the Book, we try to create a link between a fiction, an adult fiction book, and a recipe. So we're cooking the book, get it? Yeah. All right, this month we are doing Pamela Kelley's The Restaurant. This is a really fun book. It's a book about family. It's a book about an adventure they have. It's a great book if you're looking for something that really is fun to read, doesn't have a lot of deep, dark layers to it. It would be a great book to take on vacation with you. It is a book that's set in Nantucket. It's a family that has 3 sisters in the family. Their parents died early on, and they've been very close to their grandma, who lives in Nantucket, even though the girls are scattered throughout United States. But they always come back and visit their grandma in Nantucket. She was getting ready to turn 99 and happened to pass away the week before her 99th birthday. So the girls, of course, were very upset. There was the funeral, they went to the reading of her will the following week, and they found out that their grandma owned one of the most popular restaurants in town called Mimi's Place. And she was kind of a silent owner. Only one other person knew that she owned the restaurant. They were shocked, but they were even more shocked to find out that in her will, she had left the restaurant to the 3 sisters, but they had to work at the restaurant for a full year after her death, or the restaurant would go completely to the longtime chef that she had. And he actually is the 4th partner with them. So he stayed on as the chef, and the 3 daughters had to work out how they were going to work at this restaurant to fulfill the wishes of her will. So that's kind of how the book starts. The Mimi's Place was known for lots of great comfort food. So when I read this book, I thought this is a great book to use for Cook the Book. There are so many different dishes mentioned in here. Some of the great dishes that are mentioned in here are lobster pot pie, eggplant parmesan, chocolate cake, all kinds of good stuff. So the book will make you hungry if you read it. And again, it's a fun, easy book to read. I won't give too much away about how everything transpires and how it goes in the end, but it is a feel-good book that would be great to take on a trip, or if you're looking for something a little lighter to read. So she also has a second book in the series called Christmas at the Restaurant, and we just got this one at the library. So this one will be available with our Christmas collection, and I have not read this one, but it carries on with the same family members and what goes on with Christmas at the restaurant. So as we were reading that book and thinking about all the great mentions of food in it, we found a book called Comfort Food that we have in our collection. It's by Williams-Sonoma. You know, they're known for great high-end food stuff. Look at some of the great recipes. French onion soup. Oh, love some French onion soup. There's baked ziti. Really good comfort food. There's that eggplant parmesan.
And that one, I looked at the recipe. It looks like a really easy recipe to do. So if you like eggplant parmesan, this would probably be a good one to try.
Yes, I do love eggplant parmesan. Scallop potatoes. I love scallop potatoes.
I do too.
So good. But the recipe that Valerie and I decided on was, we're going to do our own little take on it though, devil's food layer cake. And at Mimi's Place in the book, they have a decadent chocolate cake that is one of their most popular things. So Valerie's going to work with this recipe, make a few little change-ups to it, and we're going to end up with some awesome chocolateness.
All right. So to begin this recipe, the very first thing you have to do with this recipe is you need a cup of boiling water and 3/4 cup natural unprocessed cocoa. And what you have to do, you have to bring the 1 cup of water to a boil and then pour it into the cocoa, mix it around, and it will look like this, kind of liquidy. And then you have to let that cool completely before you can put your cake together. So you can go ahead and do that, maybe even set it in the refrigerator, and then get all your other ingredients together. So since that's done and that's cooled, we're gonna go ahead, oh, I have chocolate on me. We're gonna go ahead and start. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add room temperature butter. And then this recipe is great because it has 2 cups of sugar in it, which is a lot, but.
I'm all for the sugar.
Exactly.
All the sugar, all the chocolate. Come on.
Exactly. So, same. Alright, so then we're just going to mix this until it gets light and fluffy looking. So that should take just a couple minutes. And then with this recipe, some of the change-ups that I did with this one, we did cupcakes instead because just for our purposes, we thought that'd be a little bit easier. And on this recipe, also in the book, I have a copy of it here. It does give you, at the bottom, it gives you a tip, and it does say how you can do the cupcakes. So it's a good thing to use this recipe for.
And do most stores have the non-processed cocoa?
Yeah, okay, I would say they do. Just in their baking section. So there's different brands you can get. You can have dark chocolate. That kind of looks like it might be good. If you like dark chocolate.
Yeah.
So this just takes a couple minutes.
I take a little longer if you're doing it by hand or with a little hand mixer.
Yeah, actually in the recipe they suggested hand mixer. So I guess you can use either. I think it would be, if you don't have a stand mixer, perfect. If you do have a stand mixer, it might free up your hands a little bit to do some of your other stuff, so you don't have to keep putting your mixer down. So, but really, probably either would be fine. Oh, and one of the things that I use too a lot for cakes, which you could use any kind of sugar really, but I use the ultra fine. It's kind of like a special baker's sugar, and I get mine at our local store. Not every store has it, but the one store that we go to, it does. It's just one of our regular grocery stores. So I'm lucky enough to find it there. You can get it online, it just seems more expensive online, which is strange. But yeah, if you can find it around, or even Domino Sugar has, it's not quite as fine as this, but it's still got a fine texture that you could use. That's a pretty good one to use for cakes too.
And it just mixes in
I think
easier.
it mixes in better, especially if it's a vanilla cake. You don't get the little brown spots on it from the sugar crystals. It just kind of dissolves a little better. So that's what I'm using here.
If you have any, yeah, and if you have any chocolate lovers in your family, this would be a great recipe because you're not only getting chocolate batter, and then you get the chocolate icing. It's like a
Right.
double dose of goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we're almost ready for that, I'm gonna go ahead and get my flour together and my other dry ingredients. Thank you. All right, so for this recipe we need, let's see, 1/4 teaspoon salt. And I use kosher flake salt. You can use table salt, whatever you have on hand, salt-wise, should work. And then baking powder is, let's see, it's 1.5 teaspoons for the baking powder. Or, I'm sorry, not baking powder, baking soda. There's a difference. So, yeah, don't use baking powder, make sure you use baking soda. Teaspoon and a half. And then one other thing that I did with this recipe, that I improvised, is I use espresso powder. It doesn't make your cake taste like mocha or coffee or anything like that. It just kind of enhances your chocolate flavor. I just use a teaspoon of it. It doesn't say so in the recipe, but that's just kind of my addition to it because I like the kind of enhanced chocolate flavor. And I know you asked me earlier if you could get this locally. You might be able to get it at your grocery store, or if you have a specialty store, like a cake store in your area, you can do that. Or I get this online, so you can get it online too, probably through Amazon, I would assume. I got this from a baking website, so,
And that's interesting, because if I, as a not great baker, if I saw espresso powder, I would think, oh, it's gonna make it taste like coffee.
when you can smell it, it smells like coffee.
It does.
It really
It
does.
smells really good, actually.
Really
I
does.
do love the smell of coffee.
I do too. But yeah, so then I just put a teaspoon of that in there, and it just subtly flavors it, and it, like I said, it tastes a little bit more like chocolate, so this is about ready. My bowl's a little small in here, but just kind of mix that around a little bit. Alright. So, the next thing we're going to do is scrape our bowl down a little bit.
And like all the recipes we do, this would be a great one to involve your family helping you with, kids, you know, nothing too crazy or, you know,
No.
awesome is going on as far as equipment or anything. They can really help you with the mixing or pouring or the measuring. All of that could be great
Yeah.
to have them help.
Well, even if you have little, not smaller kids, you could even do a setup like this and have everything measured out, and they could just help you pour it in, which would be great. So the next thing in our recipe, you need 3 large eggs. So we're just gonna go ahead and add those. Oops. You're just gonna mix each one in. Next one. So make sure you mix after each addition with your eggs, just to get it, make sure it's really good and combined. Alright.
Remember, no matter what kind of cooking you're into or want to be into, we have so many cookbooks here at the library. I
We
mean,
do.
everything from entire books about cupcakes to recipes like this to cooking wild game, all kinds of cookbooks here at the library. The batter's such a pretty color.
It really is.
Like a
It's
pale
kind of
yellow.
yeah. Alright. So, and next we're just gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla. Also smells really good. Mix that, and then what I did for this is I just pour this in here. I just stop it and pour it in here because I feel like that's kind of the easier way to do this.
And that's the cocoa powder?
Yes, this is the cocoa
Yeah.
powder and the water mixed together. And you can see it just kind of makes a, kind of like a silky liquid,
Mhm.
kind of.
It smells super chocolatey and good.
It really does. Alright. And we're just gonna mix that up. And chop it all the way.
That's good.
Covering chocolate. So we mix this up. And again with this, especially after you add the cocoa, I'm gonna make sure you get all your stuff mixed here. So definitely scrape your bowl down. Again, we're Alright. Alright, so after that mixes up, then it's time to add our flour. It's 1 3/4 cups flour, and then all of the other things, the salt, the baking soda, and the, like I said, this is optional, the espresso powder, but, we'll go ahead and add that. And really, you just wanna add this in thirds. So add a third of it. It doesn't have to be exact, you can just kind of guess. And then you're going to add half your liquid. Again, you can just guess at that.
And that's our heavy cream?
No, this is buttermilk.
That's buttermilk.
Yeah, it's
okay.
1 1/4 cups buttermilk. You just go ahead and add that there. And it's a little bit better if your ingredients are room temperature for cake. Helps it along a little bit. Again, make sure you scrape your bowl down. Again, more chocolate. Let's those off of here.
Do you have any idea if they did not have buttermilk, if they could use regular milk? Would it just change the taste, or would it change
You
like
would
the...
have, it would probably change the texture of it.
Okay.
You have to use, if you didn't have buttermilk, you could use, like a mixture of milk and like Greek yogurt, or a mixture, I would say, milk and sour cream. I'm not quite sure of the ratio. That's something you could probably Google. I mean, a lot of times, if you're an experienced baker, you could just kind of guess at it too.
Yeah.
And just get about the consistency of what buttermilk would be. I don't know, I'd say maybe like half a cup of yogurt, the rest of it milk. Add the rest of our buttermilk here. Stuff all over too, make it a nice mess.
That's all right. That's what that means you're a true baker. Flour in the air, chocolate
That's
on the
right.
hands.
That's what I could picture in a restaurant there.
That's right. That's true.
Kind of chaos a little bit. Alright, so then we're going to add the rest of our flour. You just want to mix it till it's all combined.
It smells so good.
It really does.
So good.
And when you're baking it, it smells super good too. It makes the whole house smell like chocolate. So yeah, if you're a chocolate lover, definitely.
Oh, and during the baking of it, oh, I can't imagine how
Yes.
wonderful the house would smell.
Yes. Oh, again, here we go.
Or something fun to do also, you could do the cupcakes ahead of time. This would be super fun to do with a group of kids or adults, because I would like to be invited to this kind of party. The cupcakes are made ahead of time, and then you have different types of icings out, different kinds of sprinkles,
Yes.
other toppings. How fun would that be to, everyone can decorate their own?
Yes, I actually thought about doing, I actually thought about doing sprinkles on these earlier when I did the example ones.
So cute.
Yeah, it would be a really neat
It'd be
idea.
so fun.
I like a different frosting idea. You could do a marshmallow frosting.
Oh
that
my
would be
gosh,
so
that
good on
would
the
be
chocolate.
So good. Oh.
All right. So, let's bring our beater off here. Make sure we have all of our stuff combined. Looks like we do. All right, you can see the batter is just kind of thick. And that's all there is to this. So it's actually really simple to make. As far as cakes go, this is really easy to do. So get this off of here and finish. Get that there.
And it gives you quite a bit of batter, so especially because it's enough for a double layer cake, so for cupcakes, like how many cupcakes do you think you could get out of that?
Honestly, I think I could probably have gotten 30.
Oh, wow.
I had 24 cups.
Mhm.
So I did,
Wow.
for the first batch I did 24,
Mhm.
and then I had extra left over, so I had a little mini bun cake pan,
Uh-huh.
and I made little
Oh,
mini bun
nice.
cakes.
Oh my gosh, that sounds delicious.
Excuse me. So what I do for this, I have the scoop, and I just use this, and it's 1 scoop of this batter that I put into my cupcake tins, and then just regular size cups. And you just want to make sure, maybe while this is mixing, after you get all your stuff added, go ahead and put your cupcake papers in here. And personally, I spray them lightly with like Baker's Joy, because it has some flour in the mix. So it's a spray, it's like vegetable oil, I think, and then flour. So, or I mean, if all you had was like just the vegetable spray, you could probably do it with that too. I just think it helps the papers come off a little bit easier, and you don't rip up your cupcakes. And that's just me. You don't have to do that, I'm sure, but that's what I do. So, all right. So here's, I don't know if you can kind of see it. It's kind of what our batter
Smells
looks
so
like.
good. So good.
And then it just goes in, if you're doing cupcakes, it just goes in the oven at 350 for about 20-ish minutes. They were done after about 20 minutes. And then also in this recipe in the book, it does give you the recipe for the chocolate frosting, which is what this is. So I can just tell you what's in it. It's 3 3/4 cups confectioner's sugar, a cup of the baking cocoa, the same cocoa you put in your chocolate cake recipe, a cup of butter, which is 1 stick, just softened, and then you have 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1 cup of heavy cream. So, yes.
Sign me up.
Right.
Yes.
I actually ended up, it was about 1.25 cups of the heavy cream to get the consistency that I wanted, but you could decide what consistency works for you and go from there. But, and then I have my little decorator, so just went around and I just decorated the cupcake. So, there you go.
And if you're someone who really doesn't want to buy the heavy cream, make that type of frosting from the recipe, you can always use canned frosting or any other favorite
for
frosting
sure.
recipe that you would have.
Yeah, and even if you have something like this, a decorator, you could just put your canned frosting in there and do the same thing and make it look all pretty. So, or just use a knife.
Yeah.
It works too.
Yes, that's right.
So, all right, well, that's really all there is to it.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed our 4th Cook the Book. If you did, try to watch our other Cook the Books, and we'll see you next month.
All right.
Bye.